And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Joined now by our great friend Mark Krikorian from the Center for Immigration Studies. We've had Mark on for years. It's always great to see him in person. We like to call this the Immigration Star Wars bar scene here yearly in Washington, D.C. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm not sure which of the aliens am I. I'm not sure, but...
Well, you know, it's funny. During I don't know if you've noticed this, but it just hit me as we're going on. We're a little on earlier before everybody else. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking, why is it quiet? It's like a hornet's nest, and then there's the news on every station across the country.
Right.
So that's the calm. And then here we are once again stirring it up. What's at stake here? We hear about the Russian investigation. We're hearing about Judge Kavanaugh. We're hearing about everything else. And yet this is a major issue that got the president elected.
Yeah, I mean, really, all that other stuff are kind of distractions. I mean, I don't get involved in that Russia stuff, but the whole thing's a hoax. Everybody knows it's fake. And Judge Kavanaugh is going to be confirmed. There's no question about that. These are all things that there's a lot of sound, a lot of noise, but not much signal, as they say. Sure. Whereas immigration really matters. It affects every aspect of our society, the economy, crime issues, public services, everything. And yet, while the administration is, in fact, doing what it can, in a lot of little ways, a lot of things you never even hear about, Congress needs to at least change some elementary things in the law so that the administration can get control of the border. For instance, at the southern border, we've got people coming over that because of the way the law is now, the administration ends up having to let go anybody who brings a kid with them. In other words, if you bring a minor with you, you're an illegal immigrant, you sneak across the border. If you have a minor with you, there's very limited ability to detain those people, and you can't. The law as it is now means you cannot keep a minor in detention, even with his parents, for more than 20 days, which means we end up either splitting the families or letting them go. That's the kind of thing that Congress needs to fix. The Democrats refuse to engage that issue at all. They want the administration to either have to split families so that they can make political hay out of it,
sure,
or let those people go into the United States where they'll never be seen or heard from again.
Right, and then we have people blaming the Border Patrol, blaming the administration. And Mark, as you know, people kidnap kids, say they're their kids, do all sorts of horrible things. What about the press that they do not cover this? They just go one side, bleeding heart, this, that, and the other, and they don't cover the real issue down.
I mean, it's been that way. The media has been terrible at covering immigration for a long time, but I think it's been worse over the past couple of years because it's a Trump thing now. In other words, immigration is, as you said, really probably the most important issue the president won on. And so much of the media sees reporting on immigration as their contribution to the resistance, so-called. And so they're not going to want to report on it honestly and completely, because if they did that, they would see themselves as somehow helping, the evil Drumpf, and they don't want to be doing that. And so it really is, immigration reporting was bad before. It's much worse now than it used to be. Well,
again, it's agenda-driven. You know that. I forgot to introduce you. Extremist,
hater, yeah.
Hate group from the Center for Immigration Studies, a nonpartisan group. But I can't believe, I've had you on for years wherever I've been. You're always well-researched. You have the information, nonpartisan. But when you came over into our territory, our neighborhood, I didn't know you moved into the right-wing extreme category.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. Personally, I'm a conservative, but I've actually got, some liberals working for me, because immigration doesn't have to be a conservative liberal issue. There are people who come at it from different angles.
Right.
And, I'd encourage people to take a look at our website, CIS.org. Do you see anything there that's, a Klan or Nazi stuff? It's absurd. it is just, these accusations are just a way of shutting down debate. It's basically, we're allowed to debate until we say something that liberals don't like, and then the answer is shut up.
Right, and that's the scary part here. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Mark, let's talk a little bit about what Congress should be doing.
There's a bunch of things they should be doing. What the administration offered a package that would give the Democrats something as well. This is the idea of amnestying the people who have DACA. DACA was this illegal amnesty program that Obama just pulled out of his hat.
Right.
For immigrants, illegal immigrants who came before they turned 16. Very sympathetic group of people. I'm actually for, in some way, having something like that. But Obama did it. They have work permits. They've had them for years. And so the administration was saying, okay, look, we got these people. They've already got legal jobs. They've been legally hired and all that kind of stuff. It was bad, but let's clean this up, give those guys a legitimate legal amnesty, but pass some other measures that will make it less likely we have to deal with this kind of thing in the future. So a small package deal, amnesty for the DACAs in exchange for cutting some of these chain migration categories so they don't just sponsor, relative after relative. Getting rid of the visa lottery. We actually give 50,000 green cards at random to anybody around the world. It's absurd. And some enforcement measures to make sure future people don't bring their kids with them. This is a sensible package. It wasn't some 1,000-page bill. It almost passed the House of Representatives. It was like 20 votes short. So if they'd really pushed it, they could have gotten that. That's the kind of thing we need to see. And unfortunately, while the Republicans have been willing to make concessions, the Democrats will not even engage in that debate. They don't want solutions.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Idaho. Big farm, big ranch. When the president started talking immigration, they went to the news media. The news media picked it up. They want immigration reform. But, just as you have told us about the guest worker program that really is indentured servitude, you broke the lid off that one. Let's talk about the migrant workers and specifically Idaho in general.
Well, a lot of farms and ranches around the country, Idaho and elsewhere, have gotten hooked on using illegal labor. And the fact is we have a guest worker program, which is for farmers, which is unlimited. There's no numerical limit on it. There are just requirements where you have to pay a certain amount and you have to provide housing and transportation. And the farmers, for the most part, don't want to deal with that because they want cheap, controllable labor. And so the alternative is not so much that lots of Americans are going to be flocking to, do farm work or ranch work. Some will. But if there were if farmers and these agribusinesses had less access to foreign labor, three things would happen. One is some people would be drawn into the market because there's always people who used to do farm work. They left because it was crummy. If it pays more, they'll come back and do it. Number two, mechanization. This is an important thing. We're seeing mechanization research, labor-saving research all over. And that's the way agriculture has to go. And the third is there may be some more imports. In other words, we can't grow raspberries in the United States with legal labor, but that's okay. I'm for trade.
Mark Krikorian joining us from the Center for Immigration Studies, KIDO Talk Radio, but they say they can't do the farming without the illegals. Do you buy that argument?
No, I don't. Now, if all the illegal labor disappeared tomorrow, in other words, they woke up in the morning, tomorrow morning, and they were all gone, would farmers just magically be able to fix everything by the afternoon? No, because they've gotten addicted on it. The point is we've got to wean agribusiness off this addiction to foreign labor.
Prices may go up, but again, I can remember, and look, we all want people to earn a living, but no one covered the other side of the story in the state of Idaho. All we heard was we can't till the fields, we can't do anything without the illegals. Look, we want to support our farmers and everything else, but on the other hand, we're subsidizing them with education, with medical, that never gets reported.
Right. Essentially, any employer of cheap labor, whether it's ag business or whether it's something in the cities, they are dumping some of their costs onto the taxpayer. The way economists put that is they're socializing the costs and privatizing the profits. So they need, farmers and any other employer of cheap labor needs to pay the real price of that labor. And you'll see that if they have to do that, foreign labor isn't quite as appealing as they think it is. And, you would mention that prices would go up. They probably would, but not very much, because there's an ag economist at UC Davis in California. He's actually done the numbers. He said that if you gave every farm worker in their country a 40% raise, it would the effect on the annual food budget of an American household would be like $100 or $150, something like that. So you wouldn't notice it. I mean, over an entire year, literally, you would not be able to tell the increase in prices from reducing foreign labor.
Mark Krikorian joining us, Center for Immigration Studies. Finally, where do we go from here?
Good question. I mean, if the first question is, what happens in the election November? I mean, I don't do election-type stuff. We're a think tank. But if the Democrats take over the House of Representatives, I could see them, for instance, defunding ICE, because it's now become a standard thing among the Democrats to abolish ICE. And it's entirely plausible that even before they get to impeaching the president, they might say that no money in this budget can be spent on immigration enforcement inside the United States. I mean, that's a serious possibility. So things are going to get worse, in my opinion, before they're going to get better.
Our great friend Mark Krikorian. Mark, if people want more information on how they can get a hold of you, what can they do?
We're online. The center is online at CIS.org, Center for Immigration Studies, CIS.org. And if you're in the market for snark and sarcasm, I'm on Twitter at Mark S. Krikorian. That's Stephen, Mark S. Krikorian.
We appreciate you coming in on Injured Reserve.
Yep, thank you. Happy to do it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. You know, blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Appreciate our newsmakers. And, you know, it's funny being east of the Great River once again. I've forgotten the thing called humidity, heat index, 105%, temperatures in the hundreds, the humidity 80, 90%. Just miserable here, if you will. And that's what's on the outside. But one thing that I love about our beautiful state, our great community, I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people here, and they say, well, what's Idaho like? And I said, look, the people are incredible. They're friendly. They ruin you for the rest of the country. And I'm going on a tour the other day, and somebody's speaking a foreign language, and I looked at the next to somebody. I said, well, it's all such and such to me. They looked at me, gave me the Heisman, and didn't say anything. I go, that wouldn't happen in our beloved Idaho. And, you know, one good thing about coming here, it makes me appreciate our great friends, our great family in the Treasure Valley. Can't wait to be with you. And this community that we have each and every morning, it is so important that we keep it going, because as I've see what's going on in the world today, we see how they're coming after the president, and I, again, believe that not only are they coming after the president, they're coming after conservative voices such as yours, voices such as mine, voices such as Judge Kavanaugh. And the reason why is because despite the odds, through the grace of God, we won in 2016. We won. We took them down. We tore them up. And they see their whole liberal agenda of rewiring the country in jeopardy. And, of course, we have this story from the New York Times. What type of person, and yeah, I'll call them a traitor, what type of person who has the blessing of working for an administration would say, I am a member of the resistance? If you haven't heard about this, here's the latest concerning another effort to undermine our great president.
The anonymously written op-ed suggests all of the administration's success is in spite of the president and not because of him. Writing, quote, President Trump is facing a test to his presidency unlike any faced by a modern American leader. The dilemma, which he does not fully grasp, is that many of the senior officials in his own administration are working diligently from within to frustrate parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. I would know. I'm one of them. President Trump wasted absolutely no time in reacting to the story, which describes him as adversarial, petty, and ineffective.
When you tell me about some anonymous source within the administration, probably who's failing.
Citing national security, President Trump called on the New York Times to release the writer's name.
And there we have it. We'll see how this plays out, but this is how scared they are of President Trump, the guy that couldn't win, the guy that was going to tank the markets. Well, look at the markets, dear true believer. Look at everything else of what this president has done. And as I'm watching this last night, and the sycophants on MSNBC are talking about the 25th Amendment and the president's unhinged, and I'm thinking, Well, what has he done? What has he done to deserve this criticism? Well, we've got Gorsuch. We're going to have Kavanaugh. We're over the target. He calls out the immigration people for what they are. He disagrees with it. He says we need to build a wall. We need to make America great again. We're employing more people. Unemployment is at record lows. So why is he unhinged? Because he uses social media. He doesn't kiss up to the media. They are out to get him. And, of course, the midterms are going to be bad. The midterms are going to be a challenge. Historically, just keeping the House after you win the White House, it very rarely happens. Look what happened in 94. Look what happened in 08. Now, coming up, we'll speak to Jim Risch. We'll speak to Mike Crapo. We'll speak to Raul Labrador on this. They're right in the front. They're right in the fray here in the nation's capital. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, what type of petty, thin-skinned individual that has the privilege of working at the White House would ever think of penning a piece in the New York Times? And here's the other one, tough guy. Why don't you out yourself? In fact, Tucker Carlson said he knows who he is. Well, we'll see about that. That's one issue. Another issue here is poor Judge Kavanaugh. You get up in the morning, there's the judge. You come home in the middle of the day, there's the judge. You come home at night, there's the judge. You're going to bed, there's the judge. What a long darn day for poor Judge Kavanaugh. And just the crazies continued. We'll get to that in a minute. It is 6:26. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. We like to call it, our little KIDO Talk Radio, where we get you to work safely and on time.
Recovered.
Thank you, Larry. 627 KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we'll start with our lead story, the move to get rid of the President of the United States. And then you have people saying, well, the Bob Woodward book, Bob seems to be right on. You ever hear the term organized chaos? Did you ever hear the term where, the guy just drives everybody crazy, but he gets things done? That's where we're at. Now, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had this to say.
It shouldn't surprise anyone that the New York Times, a liberal newspaper that has attacked this administration relentlessly, chose to print such a piece.
He's right about that. And as Sean Hannity has warned, we've talked about as well, it's the deep state. Now, some people will disagree, but as you heard yesterday, if you missed it, you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com, check out our podcast where the Border Patrol agents say, look, the Obama people have infiltrated all these departments, especially the Department of Justice, the Border Patrol, and everything else, and they're slow rolling everything because they're trying to run out the clock until the House can come in with the libs, with Nancy Pelosi on her horse, and impeach the president. And I say, for what?
And I'll answer your other question directly because I know someone will say, gosh, you didn't answer the question. It's not mine.
Right. There you have it. So what does this do? It undermines the president around the world, where you have people saying, look, they're turning against him. Well, I'm not turning against him. I don't think you're turning against him. The American people that elected him are not turning against him. But the media, the libs, the crew, the North End, well, I don't know about the North End, but it sounded good. They are. And I watch this coverage, and I'm thinking to myself, the rampant speculation about removing this man from office for doing what? Let's talk about it. You've heard enough from me. I'd like to hear from you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, we're going to talk more with our friends here at the Federation for American Immigration Reform, holding their feet to the fire. Congressman Labrador, Senator Risch, Senator Crapo on Judge Kavanaugh, on immigration, on the President of the United States. We're very excited to talk to Congressman Labrador, not only from a professional point of view, but personally. His reflections on office. What's next for Idaho's conservative congressman? We'll ask those questions to him, hear what he has to say. And as I said before, we're going to talk about this New York Times editorial. I'd also like to hear your thoughts on Kavanaugh Day 2 and Nike. Nike. Are you down with Nike? Colin Kaepernick ads will be airing tonight on the, was it tonight? Yeah, tonight on the NFL. Isn't that great? Can't they just sell shoes? Is that asking too much? Anyway, we are in the nation's capital, but you are in our hearts and souls. I wish we could take you all with us from your house to the White House. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
And before we get to our friend David Ray of FAIR, we're going to go to Doug in Mountain Home. Doug, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hi, Kevin. Yeah, you can see what you're talking about and hear what I'm hearing on the radio and stuff about, the people within his administration against him. I mean, you see it. I see it. That Jeff Sessions and a whole bunch of them, like, what's that, Mitch McConnell, they're dirty as hell. I mean, they are freaking dirty. And I can't believe that these people in this country can't see this. Democrats, wake up. You like your money? You like your money in your wallet? Well, then, there's no option. I mean, the other freaking side that you just had, that piece of crap that was just in, I mean, their freaking heads are so far off George Soros's freaking rectum that they don't know what they're doing. And George Soros is the one pushing all these buttons, Kevin. I mean, it's as plain as the nose on your face. The guy is pushing money to them all over this country. So
you're right, Doug. That's why we're here.
Huh?
That's why we're here, to shed the light on it, hearing what you have to say.
Yep. Exactly. And I'm glad you're there. I'm proud of you. I mean, carry it out to them. Them people are so freaking ate up with him, it's unbelievable. They're blind. I mean, you can see what's going on in our state. Hell, I heard yesterday that they're saying 2.7% in major crime just right here in Boise. Well, where do you think it's coming from? And who do you think wants it? When they don't want no law, they don't want no freaking law, in order. Get real, people. Wake up. Thanks, Kevin, for being here and having me on.
God bless,
Bye.
Doug. Bye-bye. We appreciate you. Joining us now, David Ray of FAIR, Federation for American Immigration Reform, holding their feet to the fire. Mr. Ray, thank you. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you, Kevin.
Last time I saw you, I don't think you had the beard.
No, it was very short.
You're an Ohio guy, right?
I'm an Ohio guy.
Akron guy?
Akron. Wow, great memory.
Yeah, well, we're both from Akron, so.
Oh, you're from... That's right.
That's right.
Okay, what side of town?
West side. St. Sebastian's, Mull
South
Avenue.
side,
Uh-huh.
Akron Garfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I decided to grow the beard to change the look of the face a little bit. Since I don't have any hair on top, it's like my only option.
You would fit in Idaho because those beards are mainstream there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be a
Big
compliment.
beards are getting more mainstream here, too.
Well, if you have the follicles to pull it off, I don't. I don't, sir. Good to have you with us. Thank you for having us here, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's great to have you again. This event is just... the energy here is amazing. I don't know if your listeners have had an overview of Feet to the Fire. It's been going on for 12 years now. It was started when a group of talk radio hosts approached FAIR and said, out in our various states, we have a lot of people who want to have immigration reform. We have a lot of members of Congress who are promising immigration reform, but then nobody holds them accountable in Washington. We want to bring accountability in immigration to Washington, and that was the first Feet to the Fire. Then Lou Dobbs got involved, and the event has slowly grown over the years. This one, the 12th anniversary, we had 62 or 63 talk radio hosts. We had about 80 guests representing angel families, border patrol, terrorism experts, narcotics experts, you name it. 50 sheriffs joined us this year, and they have their firsthand experience with illegal immigration and so on. Folks from DHS, former director of ICE, Ann Coulter, Diamond and Silk. So we've had, it's been like an immigration buffet, more than a guy could eat, and from every angle that you can imagine.
No, and I'm with you, and I appreciate that. And it's great that we have Ann Coulter and those folks, but I really love the people like you or the Border Patrol agents or the sheriffs. In fact, it's kind of ironic. We had one of our own sheriffs, Sheriff Kieran Donahue of Canyon County, Idaho, who was with the sheriffs yesterday when they went to Capitol Hill and then went to the White House.
Right.
and I just bumped into him in the lobby.
Oh.
We had him on, but this is an area, David, that impacts, from Idaho to Illinois to New Hampshire,
Yep.
everywhere. How do we balance this narrative, though? Americans are a compassionate people.
Right.
We want a meritocracy, and yet we can't, just like in our own homes, we can't leave our doors open for everyone because we'll be out of a home, we'll be out of food, and we'll be out of luck.
Right. Well, I think one thing that everyone here would agree on, nobody is talking about stopping immigration. We are talking about reducing it to more traditional levels, and we're talking about regaining control of the border. America is a meritocracy, and we need a merit-based immigration system that would be even-handed. It would allow us to select immigrants who are going to come in with, do it on a point system where you get certain points for level of education, certain skills, and so on, levels for English. So we would be pre-selecting people, in essence, who are going to have the tools to succeed once they get here. So what we're doing is we're making immigration a win-win situation. Right now, I think a lot of people might say it's a lose-lose situation. It would be a win-win situation because you would be pre-selecting people who are going to come here and have the tools to succeed. They're going to be improving their lives, and they'll be improving our country.
Yeah, but on the forces that are aligned against us, not only the Democratic Party,
Right.
but in Idaho, and you know this, we got the farmers.
Right.
They say they can't do their jobs without the undocumented folks, the illegals. That's number one. And then it's something else which is very akin and unique to the Republican Party. It's a group, I'm sure you've heard of it, this fringe group called the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Wall Street Republicans. Let's be honest about this. The Wall Street Journal is every bit as open borders as Kamala Harris. And they actually came out in print with asking for a 5-word constitutional amendment. There shall be open borders. Wow. That was probably 20 years ago. And now they've said they meant it tongue in cheek, but no, they didn't. If you think big business could ever get enough, low-skilled, exploitable workers, you're out of your mind. But here's the deal. America isn't just an economy. It's a place to live. It's a culture. It's a people. We have things in common. We speak English. We respect the Constitution. We respect law and order. Those are the things that people love about America and draws them here. But you can only have a country like that if we play by the rules. We have to know who's coming into our country for the simple reason that we know there's a lot of people out there who would like to come in here and hurt us. And if for no other reason than that, we should crack down on illegal immigration in sanctuary cities. I mean, it's not when somebody comes into your country, you know absolutely nothing about them. They've not been vetted. They've not had a background check, a health screening. I doubt that anybody, even if they're an open borders, progressive or liberal or however they call themselves, leaves their back door open at night. And why is that? It's because we want to wake up in the morning and not have uninvited guests having removed the contents of our home or sitting there fixing themselves breakfast in our kitchen.
Our great friend David Ray joining us from FAIR, here at FAIR's event, holding their feet to the fire on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Sanctuary cities, we haven't covered just what goes on there.
Right.
These folks are in open revolt against the government of the United States.
Yeah. So they've decided on their own and in a clear violation, unambiguous violation of federal law that they are going to decide which federal laws they're going to obey and which ones they aren't. And guess what? With President Trump being elected, it's the immigration laws they're not going to pay attention to. So there's a sanctuary jurisdictions or cities are jurisdictions or cities that prevent any type of local communication or cooperation between local police and federal immigration enforcement. So let's just say in Boise, somebody was pulled over for drunk driving, they injured somebody, they served a couple months in jail. This person is an illegal immigrant. Once this person is finished serving their time, instead of calling ICE
Sure.
and asking for a detainer, or instead of ICE calling them and asking for a detainer, which means you hold this person for 48 hours, we're going to come and remove them from the country because they're here illegally, and we don't want to give them a chance to recommit. Sanctuary cities let this person go on the streets.
Right.
It's a huge problem. Tom Homan earlier this year was talking about sanctuary cities, and this had to have been 6 months ago, and he said, there's already been 10,000 instances of criminal aliens being released by sanctuary cities who've already recommitted crimes. These are preventable crimes. I mean, you want to talk about heartbreak. Talk to some of the angel moms who lost their kids to what was arguably one of the most preventable crimes available,
Right.
and that is because this person shouldn't have been in the country in the first place.
And we don't hear about it at all. Mr. Ray, finally, people want to get a hold of FAIR. What can they do?
Well, please, we are a 501c3 nonprofit charity. We get no money from the government. We have 2 million members and supporters around the country. FairUS.org on the web. Fair Immigration on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook, Federation for American Immigration Reform. Join us to bring our country some common sense immigration reform in the national interest.
All right, coming up next, your phone calls. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, let's go to Hank in Boise, then a special mystery guest. Hank, good morning.
Okay. Well, I'm not your special mystery guest, but...
No, you're Hank. That's why I said Hank.
Yeah, okay. What I was going to say is that this tactic of anonymous sources within an administration is as old as the hills. Abraham Lincoln was considered the greatest of all presidents. But stories appeared in the New York Tribune in the days of Horace Greeley during the Civil War that the administration was in disarray. The source was Solomon Portman Chase, who was Lincoln's Secretary of Treasury. The business of inside leaks. Another one, inside leaker, like in the Truman administration, was Lewis Johnson, the Secretary of Defense. These kinds of tactics by people carrying anonymously and then being the source of these news stories is a very, very old Washington insider tactic. And they make it out like this is unprecedented in the case of Trump, and it is not. Now, as far as a possibility this story could be made out of whole cloth, it wouldn't surprise me in the end, although I won't, rule it out altogether. The New York Times could have made this story out of whole cloth. They're very capable of it. So, I mean, this is something we got to be guarded against. Bob Woodward, a lot of his stuff in the Watergate thing was made out of whole cloth, this Woodward and Bernstein. Now, they used, in their case, the deep throat was a assistant FBI director who was passed by Nixon when J. Edgar Hoover died back in 1972. And he was disgruntled because Nixon didn't appoint him to the job. So he was the source of the deep throat. But a lot of the stories that Bob Woodward says about Nixon and stuff, about Nixon being psycho and all this other stuff, was made out of whole cloth. Making that stories is not new to what Bob Woodward.
Sure. Hank, thank you for the call. Traffic and weather together.
Zuri Gebert.
And joining us now, my mother's favorite guest, Canyon County Sheriff Kieran Donahue, live here in Washington, D.C. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
So you were with the president yesterday. What do you think? You were with the president yesterday.
Yeah, I was with the president yesterday,
right.
Actually with the vice president as well.
Right.
Separately, but I thought it was very interesting. And
well, did you ask him about the op-eds and everything?
Oh, I did not. In fact, I have to admit I was not aware of that at the time until the reporter, after we had done our photo op with him and with the group and the sheriffs, then presented him with the plaque that we got for him. Then the first I'd heard about is when the reporter asked him the question.
Yeah, let me set the scene, which I never do here. Sheriff Donahue testified yesterday on Capitol Hill, surrounded by sheriffs from across the country, speaking to this particular issue, then went to the White House for a ceremony. And if you saw the president speak yesterday with his reaction to the New York Times editorial, Sheriff Donahue was in the room at the time when the president's going, "Hey, haven't I done a great job?" and everybody's clapping. And,
well, yeah, we were definitely in the room. He was standing with us.
Right.
We had waited for him to come in so we could present him this, and we had just met, like I say, with some of his senior staff in a roundtable discussion on immigration.
Sure.
And which was great. Vice President Pence came into the room, spoke with us, and so it was really, they're very accommodating and heartfelt conversations. But then that was kind of a surprise when that thing happened, and then. Yeah, we were standing right behind him when he addressed the question by the reporter.
Right. So, 1 minute you're in Canyon County, talking about the jail,
sure,
real life issues,
sure,
taking down the drug dealers,
sure,
big major bust recently,
yeah,
and then you're in the White House,
yeah,
before the President of the United States, around your brothers in law enforcement.
Yeah.
As a person, what was going through your head?
It's very a little bit surreal and very humbling and very blessed that able to do those types of things for our constituents, of course, back in Idaho, but really for the American people. We're talking about very big issues, and the jail is a big issue, obviously, back home, but caused by some of the things that we see nationally and internationally with our unsecure borders. And so it was kind of a culmination of things. And yesterday it was really
sure,
honorable to be there. I was really honored, and especially when by surprise Vice President Pence walks into the room, and we stopped our discussion. Everybody gets to meet him, and he was just, his comments. It was a little bit more of a laid-back scene there, and his comments were so heartfelt to his support for law enforcement.
How does he strike you as a person?
Oh, I think he's a fantastic guy. He's very genuine, very real. He's very direct, but I'll tell you, when you meet him, he's just absolutely a real person, and there's no hype to him, and he was very straightforward.
What was it like for you to go through the Secret Service screening to go in?
It was lengthy, to be honest with you. Yeah,
they're very personable there. Yeah, very personable guys.
It was very lengthy, and it's hot out there. We'd done a press conference early on the lawn earlier in the day, and 100-degree heat for an hour-long press conference
with humidity.
Oh my gosh,
not Idaho heat, with humidity.
That was bad. I saw one person faint, but. No, it's been
that would
really,
be me.
No, it was bad. Yeah, I felt bad for him. It was it's been a good trip, and the reason we were there with the president is because we appreciate his commitment to law enforcement. When he first came into office, he said, "This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to support law enforcement, not just sheriffs, but of course, law enforcement in general." And he's lived up to that for us as far as we're concerned, and we were there to congratulate him and to show our appreciation that we appreciate him standing by us and helping us move. The
Sheriff Donahue,
forward.
The music's going. We got to go.
Oh, let's go.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.